Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. This is Retro Fun Tech. So today I have my full review of the Ayn Odin 2. I made a first impressions video a while back and recently did a game testing request video. I only had it less than 24 hours and started filming my impressions and thoughts on it. If you watched that video, I raved about how amazing the Odin 2 is, and, well, it's been a month and my thoughts are still incredibly positive. Also, I'm getting over the flu, so that's why my voice is a little froggy, so bear with me. So before we get started, you might want to order a pizza or a party sub because this video might be a little long. I have a few game requests that I will show here. There are also some recent updates to the Odin 2 that I wanted to go over, and I have a segment that I will talk about the Logitech G Cloud versus the Odin 2. So, let's jump right in. Here are the tech specs of the Ayn Odin 2. Now I have the Pro model, but I wanted to show all the model specs here. The difference in the models really just comes down to the RAM and the internal storage. All of the models share the rest of the specs, even the same CPU and GPU. Now one thing that the base model doesn't get are the cool colors. But if you don't want the base black, you will have to upgrade to at least the Pro. Now with these stats, all your retro games up through and including 32-bit and 64-bit will run just fine on here. And yes, GameCube and PS2 run well. But the difference is that there is minimal tweaks and hacks that you will need to use to get them to run. I'll go over that later in the gameplay. Now some features that I wanted to point out about the device. Front-facing speakers. Too often is this overlooked, and it really makes a difference in your gaming sessions. I have the sound on half or less generally, and it's crazy loud. Hall effect sensor sticks. This is cool because you shouldn't get any stick drift down the road from jamming on this device. Performance modes. You can access this in the pull-down notification bar. There are 3 modes: standard, performance, and high performance. I personally keep this at standard unless I'm playing GameCube, PS2, or Switch. Then I put it on either performance or high performance if the game is having a lot of issues. This helps because sometimes the emulator app that you are in just doesn't have enough hacks to help the game. For the most part, the Odin 2 doesn't have a whole lot of issues playing things. Fan. Again, like the performance mode, I haven't really used this because I haven't noticed my device getting too warm. I have put it on occasionally. It seems to help with the heat from the device. Not sure on helping other stats like the battery, but it's a nice feature to have just in case. Fingerprint, sensor, and power button. This is very nice because it immediately recognizes your fingerprint as soon as you touch the power button and opens up the device. Back buttons on the grip. There are customizable buttons on the back that honestly I haven't used yet. I'm not sure if you can set them up for macros or what, but extra buttons are always nice to have. So something that I wanted to go over in this review, and a few people actually asked if I could do this as well. I mentioned this in my impressions video. I love the Logitech G Cloud device. It's probably the most comfortable handheld that I own. The ergonomics, the lightweight, and the screen just make it a no-brainer when grabbing for one of my many handhelds. However, the Odin 2 has really sadly taken my G Cloud's place. I kind of knew that was going to happen, but the Odin 2 is just so good. So a few things that I will go over that I noticed between the two devices. The buttons. This is a hard one. The buttons on the Odin 2 are a little smaller, but they don't bottom out like the ones on the G Cloud. The D-pad. Both the D-pads are actually a little bit different. The D-pad on the Odin 2 is similar to the one on the Retroid Pocket 3, the 2S that's coming out, the Retroid 4 and 4 Pro. The G Cloud D-pad is just a little bit strange. Both of them are not completely ideal, and I wish that they were more of a classic D-pad, but I kind of like the D-pad on the Odin 2 more. Screen. The Odin 2 has a 6-inch screen, and the G Cloud has a 7-inch screen. Neither of them are OLED. So aside from the inch size difference, there really isn't one. HDMI out feature. Thankfully, this was in a software update a few months ago for the G Cloud. Now, it's not a true console-like experience because it ends up just mirroring the screen on the monitor or TV that you connect it to. I definitely like the HDMI out on the Odin 2. I had better luck with plugging into the USB-C port. The micro HDMI seemed to give me some issues. But here you can see the Odin 2 is on my living room TV playing Switch with no issues. Power. Now, of course, you might have guessed it, the Odin 2 wins here. A lot more powerful, it has a newer processor, and the G Cloud just, unfortunately, it was set up to be a cloud gaming device. It wasn't set up for actual handheld emulation. That's why they probably put in an older processor, but the Odin 2 clearly just comes out on top here. The weight. This definitely goes to the G Cloud. It's a bit lighter than the Odin 2, even though the G Cloud is bigger. It's very thin in the middle, which I like, and I kind of miss when using the Odin 2. The storage. So one of the major differences in the storage, there are 2 points that I will make here. First is the internal storage. The G Cloud only comes with 64 gigs of internal storage, while the base model of the Odin 2 starts at 128 gigs. In my opinion, that is where the standard should really be for any Android handheld, and then you can go up from there. The Pro has 256, the Max has 512 gigs. So the reason my thoughts on the internal storage is this. Android is a bulky operating system. Depending on the version that you are running, it will likely take up several gigs, and in some cases upwards of 12 to 15 gigs. Also, then assuming that you want to take advantage of it being an Android device, you will want to install some games to play. Not to mention the emulation apps. The Android games can actually take up a few gigs themselves. You should see the size of Genshin Impact. It's insane. And half the time I don't even put it on my lower end models. And once you throw on emulation apps, Android games, and then ROMs or files for your retro games that you are emulating, the storage can fill up pretty quickly. Sure, the 8-bit and 16-bit systems aren't very big, but when you get into the higher systems like Dreamcast, PSP, N64, Saturn, GameCube, the files get bigger and bigger. Then there's PS2, which leads me to the other point in the storage section. Sure, the G Cloud takes an SD card, but it can only be formatted to FAT32, which I don't expect you to know the difference between FAT32 and exFAT. But when it comes to emulation, what that means is that a FAT32 card cannot support any files that are larger than 4 gigs. So, in particular, for PS2 games, a lot of them are bigger than 4 gigs. So you will have to put those bigger game files on the internal storage, which makes us go back to the insane circle of knowing that we don't have a lot of internal storage in the first place. So again, this video is supposed to be about the Odin 2, but I just wanted to recap all of that about the G Cloud instead of making a separate video. I still think the Logitech G Cloud is a great device, but it's getting harder and harder to recommend when we have more powerful and more bang for your buck devices out there like the Odin 2. Even the Retroid Pocket 4 and 4 Pro are coming out, and at the most, the Pro is $200. So if you still want a super ergonomic 7-inch handheld, maybe look on eBay and find one used somewhere, and then yeah, the G Cloud is great. But please don't pay the obnoxious $350 retail price, or even the newer discounted retail price of $299. You could get an Odin 2 base model for that, and it would be way more worth your money. Recently, there have been a few updates that I just wanted to go over briefly that will help with performance. RAM swap. So in the settings, there is an option to do a 4 gig RAM swap. This is a big help for the base model, or if you are playing some higher end games on the Pro or Max model. Maybe Android games like Genshin Impact would benefit from this, or emulation like the Switch. The word on the street is the new 4 gig swap file helps with Switch emulation, which has been hit or miss for some higher end games. It seems to close the gap for the Switch games. You still might get some lag or issues with, say, Tears of the Kingdom, but a lot of other things should run better than before. Another performance setting that you should check out is directly in the Yuzu app. Go into the settings of Yuzu and click on Advanced Settings, and then Debug. There is a new CPU backend that should be turned on by default if you have Yuzu updated. But if you are playing a game and noticing some issues, check this and make sure that it's turned on. This will help the games run smoother, and many games that had issues before don't anymore. It's basically allowing the emulator to run the code right on the CPU, which helps with performance. Also with performance, if your device doesn't have to work so hard, then you'll probably get better battery life. Yuzu also has per game configuration settings. So if you have found that a game runs better in docked mode versus handheld mode, you can change it in the settings here. Also something I noticed on my Odin 2 and saw some others talking about it online. When trying to run some Android games that have been downloaded from the Google Play Store, the game opens for a quick second and then immediately goes to a black screen, and then crashes. I personally have had this happen when trying to run Genshin Impact. So if you are experiencing this, there is a fix. It appears that the Google Play services was the culprit behind the problem. For the fix, go to Settings on your device. Navigate to Apps and All Apps. Select Show System Apps up at the top. Scroll down till you find the Google Play services. Now, click on that, and you have to force stop it. Then you have to click on Manage Space. Then clear all data, and then log back in with your Google account. My device is now functioning properly and all Google Play apps are operational as well. I hope this helps if you were having any issues. Alright, now for the fun part, the gameplay. Like I said before, the Odin 2 is a beast, and doesn't have any issues with any of the lower or mid-range systems. So I'm not going to focus a lot on those. I will focus more on showcasing GameCube, PS2, and Switch. Some of these games are testing requests from viewers. Thank you to everybody who reached out and gave suggestions for games. If you would like to see a specific game tested, definitely comment below, and I will try my best to put it in a video. If I get enough requests, I will likely do a part 2 of the game testing request video. I will link part 1 in the description below.
Standing by. Lock S balls in attack position. I copy, Red Leader. We've got to destroy those deflection towers. Red Leader.
Star Wars Rogue Leader was the only one that I had a little lag. But here you can see that it's super easy to just pull down from the notification bar at the top and click on performance and go into whatever performance mode that you need to go into. And it immediately adjusts the game. And now it's working great.
Big switch, follow me.
So instead of doing a good and bad section, let's be honest, the Odin 2 does just about everything good. So this is going to be a tiny wish list for improvements that could have been done to make this device just absolutely incredible. After all, this is one of the more premium Android handhelds. So let's call these premium suggestions. Number 1, screen size or no bezels. Maybe it's just me, but I want bezels to go away. I hate them. I think Ayn could have done this with the Odin 2. A bezel-less screen would have been awesome. Or maybe just make the screen 7 inches. In comparison to the Logitech G Cloud, that's honestly the thing that I miss the most. Or maybe get rid of the bezels and then you don't need a bigger screen. Problem solved. I hate bezels. Number 2, OLED screen. Now don't get me wrong, the screen is great, aside from the bezels, but the Odin 2 just should have an OLED screen. Something that is a premium price of $300 plus just needs a few premium add-ons. Even if Ayn only put it on their max version, it would have definitely been a reason to get the max version. Number 3, bigger thumbsticks and buttons. These are not bad at all. I like the feel of the buttons. The thumbsticks are Hall effect, so they won't drift over time. They're just both a little smaller than I generally like. You do get used to them for sure, but that's something that I noticed right away. So my final thoughts are this. If you are looking for the best Android handheld out there, this is it. If you have ever said when watching another device review,
"But does it play GameCube and PS2?
Yes, it does. Very, very well. Now I will mention the elephant in the room. The Retroid Pocket 4 and 4 Pro are weeks away from launching. In fact, review videos are starting to pop up on them now. Yes, that is $100 cheaper than the base Odin 2 model. However, it's smaller screen, not as ergonomic, and might need some more hacks and tweaks to get it to play the super high-end stuff. Again, I won't know until my device arrives, hopefully soon. So definitely stay tuned for videos on that device when I get it. So what are your thoughts on the Odin 2? Do you have it? Do you love it? Are you still considering it, or are you waiting for the previously mentioned RP4 or 4 Pro devices to come out? If you have the Odin 2, comment below and let me know what you're playing on it, and if it's your first handheld. I'm interested to know. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and even share this video with someone who needs some retro fun in their life. Thanks for watching. Stay awesome, everyone, and go play some games.